built a mechanized chime machine. Oh, that'd be amazing if he built a time machine.
I wish it was a time machine.
Yes, damn. Okay, I'll try that again. Hey everyone, it's Elliot.
And Todd. Welcome to Two Designers Walk Into a Bar, an ongoing conversation about pop culture and iconic design.
Did you notice the new TVs here in the bar?
I did. Classy.
Ooh, what do you think they're for?
Sports, movies, putting all the good stuff right here in front of us. Which reminds me, today we're going to be talking about a couple of identities.
Ah, you mean the two of us?
No, I was thinking about a couple of other content providers. NBC and Netflix.
Oh yeah, the ones who won't return our calls.
Yep, looks like we're buying our own drinks tonight. Well, one of us is.
Ah, then let's order a couple of Cobra Strikes and get the show underway.
Back here in the bar. Are those Karate Kid drinks or something?
Maybe. We'll find out.
We labeled it networks, but like you were saying before, it's really content providers.
Yeah. Programmers. How about that?
Specifically,
Programmers.
yeah.
Not in the web development sense. But,
yeah, I mean, I still consider them a network of some kind. You know, we were specifically looking into the OG, which is NBC, and the new G, which is Netflix, which is ruling the roost right now. So you were going to talk about the famous NBC identity.
Yeah. So really it's two parts. And I think most people are probably familiar with them. The Chimes and the Peacock.
Yep.
And so obviously you mentioned streaming a second ago. NBC has its own streaming platform called Peacock, and that's the reason it's named that. Okay, so let's jump in and talk about each of these building blocks, I guess you could refer to them as, or I don't know, the yin and the yang of their identity.
Branding elements.
Hand and glove. Yeah. Okay, the Chimes. So you've definitely heard them if you've ever watched anything at NBC. They're iconic, those three chimes, GEC.
Like that.
Yeah, NBC, right? But they're more than a catchy jingle. They're really the first sound ever trademarked. I don't know if you're aware of that. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And so I think that's why they've stuck around and really become a lasting symbol of American broadcasting. Now, okay, these had, in addition to branding, they had a practical purpose, which I'm going to get into.
Okay.
Where did these chimes come from? In the late 1920s, NBC was pioneering national radio. So this was the network aspect.
Right.
But coordinating network switches, so it was a network in the truest sense of the word. It was truly connected stations, like these wired stations. So there were these networking switches, and coordinating them was tricky. How did you know when to switch over between programs, for example? So the chimes began as a simple audio cue for those sound engineers. And initially it was actually 7 notes to get their attention, and then it finally was reduced to 3, and that's the GEC that we all know today.
Okay.
And NBC adopted this final version back in 1931. And then a year later, in 1932, an engineer named Richard H. Ranger built a mechanized chime machine.
Great name.
So he built this machine to standardize the playback and eliminate any human error. Because prior to that, it was literally someone with a xylophone that was playing these things. Isn't that amazing? Like to again, like almost like, I don't know, the chimes of Big Ben or something like that.
Yeah.
So what started as a utility soon became the quote unquote voice of NBC, like you said, an important component in their branding.
Yeah.
And so by the 40s, the chimes aired up to 16 times a day.
Yeah.
So if you think about the network and you think about how many different stations were playing these things and so forth, that was 20 billion with a B, 20 billion annual impressions. And that was all before branding was called branding, right? That was before that had a name, but everybody was hearing these things. So this is in the 40s. And then in 1950, NBC secured the first ever trademark for a purely audio symbol. So a revolutionary idea at the time, these chimes and trademarking them, this gave NBC exclusive rights to a sound. So no one else could use these chimes in broadcasting.
In that order, yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about those notes for a second. So there's a little bit of a myth that was spun up around those particular notes. So one of the early companies that was instrumental in the founding of NBC was General Electric.
Yeah.
And if you think about the General Electric company, what are those initials?
I was thinking General Electric, but I couldn't think of what the C would be. So is that folklore or is that true?
Yeah, it's unfortunately folklore, but it's not without reason. So even apparently a former NBC president supported the idea. So, you know, it added a little bit of romance to the brand, right? It just happened to be totally perfect.
Easy to remember.
Yeah, but historians believe it's just a coincidence, and those were simply the notes available on the chime set, right? So it just happened to be what was played and then reduced down and everything like this. So from 7 down to 3. Now, at one point in time, or, you know, really in a couple different times, peak moments in history, Todd, there was actually a 4th chime. Do you know that? Yeah.
No. Huh.
And this, again, had a utilitarian root behind it. So in times of emergency, NBC would use another C note. So it'd be GECC. And that was first done after the Hindenburg disaster in 1937. So it was signaling that there was urgent news to these stations, hey, guys, heads up, right? We think about these weather alerts that buzz in on our phones, that kind of thing. It was that same sort of idea. And it also signaled urgent news during World War II, most famously at 2:30 a.m. on D-Day, to alert the staff and its affiliates of breaking developments during the war.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you start to see it was... it was just perfect, right? Because it was born out of an authentic use, and it's really just stuck around.
I wonder if the 4th chime version in times of emergency, if that was played with the same timing, or was it a lot more urgent, like ding, 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 ding.
Like the guy carrying the xylophone and then falling down the stairs.
Falling down the stairs with the xylophone.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, all the keys flying everywhere. So by the 70s, jumping forward a few decades, automation replaced the chimes for technical use. You know, everything was switching automatically. You didn't need that audio cue. People had largely figured all of this out. But the sound lived on in NBC News, NBC Sports, special programming. I mean, that's why you and I and everyone listening are familiar with it today.
Right.
Unless, all our 90-plus age podcast listeners, which are a lot. It's very popular with them since they're very hard of hearing. But even after the radio trademark expired in 1992, the tones remain protected and instantly recognizable. So we have this sonic signature, and it's attached to this legacy broadcaster that is still very much alive and well today.
Yeah. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, please.
So from your knowledge, do they still simply use like a xylophone chime, although it's obviously digitized now, or do they mix it with other sounds too?
From what I've seen with the research I've did, it's remained pretty pure.
Okay.
They haven't, like, I don't know if they're, in the, let's say the 80s, they didn't necessarily dig up like some Yamaha keyboard and switch it to xylophone mode and then just start, riffing away. Alex Van Halen wasn't playing it or something like that. So as far as I know, it was taken from, now it may have been cleaned up over the years, like it may have been re-recorded. But no, I mean, to the best of my knowledge, it's always been a xylophone.
The simple chime. It was never symphonic or anything like that.
Not to the best of my, not to the best of my knowledge, yeah.
Well, that definitely is iconic, an iconic audio symbol. But you were going to talk about the peacock, which is a very iconic visual symbol.
Oh, yeah. And so when you think about NBC and you think about visuals, I mean, TV is naturally a visual medium.
Right.
You definitely picture the peacock.
Yeah.
So this was born out of the idea of color TV, competition, and just really smart branding. So originally, NBC used other radio era logos because it started as a radio station. So think about things like a lightning bolt wrapped microphone or zap, shocking news coming in right now.
Yeah.
Or the xylophone. Actually, we'll put this up on our episode page. Prior to NBC getting the peacock logo, it actually had its own xylophone logo. But it was the peacock logo that stuck. So let's go to the mid-50s here. So in 1956, designer John J. Graham introduced the 11-feathered peacock to showcase NBC's color broadcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So we had talked about General Electric. Another company that was deeply involved with NBC was RCA.
Right.
And so RCA was NBC's parent. And what did RCA produce, Todd?
TVs, man.
Yeah, color TVs. So you got to get that color TV sold. So you want those color signals out there. So you want to talk about that, showcase that as much as possible. So the peacock first appeared as a still image, but became animated in 1957 with the now famous tagline, "The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC."
Oh, man.
Voiced by Ben Grauer, right? We all remember that. If you go back,
that.
I mean, you love, what is it, Rabbit Ears TV or Me TV or whatever it is that you're always watching?
Yeah, Me TV.
Yeah, so I'm sure you probably see that from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't around when that first was being originally used, but you certainly saw it in reruns and things like that, or syndication, I should say.
Definitely.
Yeah, it brings back such great memories.
Okay, let's jump ahead a few years to the early 60s.
Okay.
So a more elaborate version debuted in 1962, and this one was nicknamed the quote-unquote Laramie Peacock.
Okay. All right.
There's a reason for that. It opened, one of the Westerns, right? Remember, we've talked in past episodes about how Westerns were huge in the 60s and 70s. Yeah. So it opened, NBC produced shows like The Wizard of Oz and Peter Pan, as well as these Westerns. And it featured a kaleidoscopic animation and a woodwind score, this time voiced by Mel Brandt. So, retired in 1975, it made nostalgic returns, including the, Todd, I know you're a fan of Christmas and a fan of Santa Claus. So
yeah, of course.
This came back for the 2024 broadcast of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh, man. One of my favorites.
Great stop motion, right?
Yeah.
So let's jump ahead a few years again. Let's get to the late 70s and what we will refer to as the Proud N. Okay. So there were some other meandering journeys that the NBC identity took. And in 79, then President Fred Silverman revived the peacock as part of the new Proud N logo. And this was created by Lippincott and Margulies. So very iconic design firm. And there was this very modern kind of two trapezoids in opposite directions that created this N, very 70s if you look at it today. Yeah. And as an aside, I'm going to try to shoehorn it into this podcast. That N actually was already in use unknowingly by a PBS station somewhere, if I remember, in Indiana.
Oh, really?
And so NBC, in order to be able to keep using it, had to pay them like $50,000 or something.
Man.
In like the early, like in the late 60s, early 70s or whenever. Just
that funded the PBS station for a year,
forever. They're probably still living off
they're
that.
Still living
coasting
off of
on
that.
those fumes. Yeah. That and the Bob Ross money, man.
Yeah, that's true.
So it merged that modern end with a simplified peacock that featured bold colors in a triangular body. And research by Peter H. Kleigman confirmed that the peacock had this branding power. So this guy did this research. People associated NBC with the peacock, with color television, all these things we talked about. So that's how the peacock came back into NBC's identity.
Makes sense. I agree with Mr. Kleigman on that one.
I do too, as do peacocks throughout the world.
Oh, yep.
So let's jump ahead to the mid-'80s, Todd, the time that's really right in our wheelhouse.
Yep.
You know, the Miami Vice, MTV, blah, blah, blah era. So in 1980, NBC hired another iconic firm in New York, Shermayev and Geismar. Steph Geisbuehler, who's another one of the principals, created the current peacock that we see today. And it was streamlined with 6 feathers, and the colors of those feathers are yellow, orange, red, purple, blue, and green. And they symbolized NBC's 6 different divisions, so things like news and sports, etc.
Right.
So each one had its own color code. And then the head faced right instead of left to suggest a forward vision because, of course, we read left to right.
Right.
And the body became much more vertically sleek and minimal. Basically, it was one of these feather plumes sort of flipped upside down. If you look at it, everything was the same size, much, much, much more balanced. And then get this, though. So it's completed in 1980, like we talked about. So why was I talking about Miami Vice and all these other shows of the mid-'80s? Yeah, very different time period. So NBC waited actually 6 years. They waited until May 12th of 1986 to officially launch the logo.
Wow.
Because they wanted it to be during their 60th anniversary. So, they sat on it for a few years. But over time, affiliates adopted the logo, and then by 1988, it became NBC's universal symbol. It was everywhere. So, it's got to propagate and take a little while. And now, Todd, we find ourselves, of course, in the digital age, right?
Yeah.
So by the mid-'90s, the peacock became really this constant on-screen bug. Right? You watch any news broadcast, sporting event, that sort of thing, and it's always either a watermark or it's integrated into the lower third graphics.
Right.
So it evolved with the times, almost like what we were talking about with our movie studio logos. 3D treatments, animations, different seasonal variants, and it remains central to NBC's visual identity today.
Yeah, man, and it's beautiful. I think that's such a smart branding visual. Peacock is colorful. They're known for that. NBC certainly has owned that image for a long time, and then they've modernized it as time has gone on. I think it's just a perfect entertainment content creator symbol. And pair that with the chimes. I mean, what you got there, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's very simple, but it's very easy to read, very easy to remember. It's very much a nice balance of less is more, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, just to kind of wrap this all up with a bow, from a technical cue like we talked about originally to this global icon, the chimes and the peacock have really defined NBC's identity for nearly a century.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's amazing to think they're 100 years old or close to it.
Oh, wow.
And it just reminds us how powerful sound and image can be when design really meets a purpose. Like we said, these audio cues began as something very utilitarian, but NBC quickly realized what they had and the ownability around that. So, boom, here we are 100 years later, still talking about it, and it has become a part of pop culture history.
Hey, so let me try a joke out on you. So that was a very, very colorful story, Elliot.
Here. Let me hit you with one here. Striking all the right notes, right?
Oh.
Speaking of which, let me know if this rings a bell. My glass is empty.
Well, I recognize that sour note, all right. Am I off to the bar, Elliot?
Ah, you are. Music to my ears.
Like an accordion humping bagpipes, right? All right. We'll be right back. Hi. We want to take a moment to mention that if you're enjoying this episode, we have an archive of topics ranging from the Olympics to movie posters.
Think Ghostbusters.
Iconic images.
Think Bigfoot.
Punk music.
The Ramones.
Saturday morning cartoons.
The Pink Panther.
And failed products like OK Soda. Visit our website at twodesignerswalkintoabar.com for full episode notes and visuals, the latest blog content, and to sign up for our newsletter.
Follow us on social media. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Find the links on our website or search using the phrase "Two Designers Walk Into a Bar."
Most importantly, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps more people like you find podcasts like this.
And tell a friend about us. Send them a link to our podcast from your listening platform of choice.
And if you're inclined, buy our merchandise. Stickers, coasters, magnets, t-shirts. We're designers. We make good stuff, and it helps support the show.
Get in touch. Use the contact form on our website or send an email to hello@twodesignerswalkintoabar.com.
We read every message we get. Honest.
And we're available for speaking gigs. Email us to learn more.
Okay, now, back to the bar.
Okay, Todd, thank you very much for the round of drinks, the round of colorful cocktails. I think it's only appropriate. There'll be a little something extra in your Peacock subscription this month.
Yeah, did you have to get one of each color in the Peacock?
Well, listen, look at it this way. If I have 6 drinks in front of me, I won't bug you the rest of the night.
Well, there is an advantage to that, yes. Okay,
Todd, so I've talked about the old brand, but you were talking big. You were saying you had something new and flashy and sexy and all internet-y to bring to the table.
Yeah.
So what do you have that could possibly be better than a Peacock that plays a xylophone?
Well, in fairness, I'm not talking about better branding, but because I do love the iconic NBC branding, but I am talking about newer. I'm talking about the iconic Tudum sound of Netflix. I bet you could hear that in your head, couldn't you?
I could.
And that sound that is so identifiable with Netflix now was almost completely different, if you can believe that. I'm going to get into that in just a second, but I'm just going to leave
You're
that
teasing
there
us?
right now to wet your whistle.
All right.
When I say it could have ended differently, you would love it, but very different.
Like, was it an accordion humping bagpipes? Was that their fallback?
Not too far off, Elliot, but we'll get to it in a second.
Interesting.
Let me give you a tiny bit of history about Netflix, first of all, because they do kind of sound like they've been around for a very long time, but everyone knows Netflix evolved from a mail-order DVD service. It was founded in 1997 by some carpool buddies, Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph. They were both co-workers at this company called Pure Software. Reed was a computer scientist, mathematician, and Mark was in marketing. And this was in California, so...
What did Pure Software do? Do you remember?
I think they created software that was pure.
Got it. So, no. So, it's not like they were, bottling custom bespoke seltzers or something, and then in their free time they were writing the software. They were just straight software developers.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll go with that though. But as As the story goes, Reed Hastings decided to start Netflix after being charged a $40 late fee for the movie Apollo 13 from Blockbuster. You remember them?
I do.
Houston, we had a problem with that $40.
Apparently so. Hey, Pure Software is still around.
Are they now? Okay.
Yeah.
What do they do?
So, apparently, okay, get this.
Okay.
So they didn't just work there. Like, Reed Hastings owned it. And he sold it for $750 million. So this guy who was pissed off about the late fee, he had $750 million. And so that's what allowed him apparently to start Netflix
kidding.
up.
All right.
That was his seed money.
Right. Well, so he wasn't put out too much by paying the $40 then, is what you're saying.
Apparently not. I don't know. Yeah.
You know, Netflix, it really revolutionized entertainment because in 1990...
Wait. We need to back up. So basically, to answer our original question, the original product was a debugging tool for Unix software applications.
Sounds appropriate.
So that's Pure Software.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. Now we know. So thanks, Unix. You gave us Netflix. The bugs in Unix gave us Netflix.
So Netflix really revolutionized home entertainment because in 1999, they launched the first subscription model, drawing attention away from what was then the 800-pound gorilla Blockbuster, who obviously rented DVDs, Blu-rays, and even videotapes.
But you had to go to the store. Like, that was the thing. The DVDs came to your house, and it was all you could eat.
Yeah. So, a funny little story. In September of 2000, during the dot-com bubble, Netflix was suffering losses. Things weren't going well. So they offered to sell to Blockbuster for $50 million. And so a guy named John Antioco, who was the CEO of Blockbuster, thought the offer was a joke and declined it, saying, the dot-com hysteria is completely overblown. and then I imagine he twisted his long mustache and went to tying people back up on the railroad tracks after
Bring
that.
on the virgins. The train's almost here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, what Netflix did is they doubled down on their vision while Blockbuster went bankrupt.
Yeah, they couldn't pivot like so many companies in history, right?
Yeah, cue sad trombone music. Today, Netflix is valued at $392.8 billion with a B dollars. So
not bad.
I mean, like not bad for if you would have invested $50 million, right?
Yeah, pretty good return.
Not a bad return. And just as a little trivia question, do you happen to know Netflix first original content they produced?
I don't.
It was House of Cards.
Really? That was the very first thing they did? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Back in 2013. By 2025, they have over 301 million subscribers. They're the most subscribed to streaming service.
Okay.
And so beyond that, like as we know them in home entertainment, they're getting into video games and mobile games and, you know, just kind of becoming that massive multi-platform entertainment and being one of the world's most visited websites.
Really? Even with the apps and everyone having smart TVs and everything, it's still one of the most visited websites?
I'm suspecting that claim is probably based on the apps, you know, being considered a website.
Got it.
Because it is still going through their pipes, right? So,
as far as I know, probably really going through Amazon's pipes, but whatever.
Yeah, maybe. All right, let's talk about the identity. Because when it first started, it was a very techie company.
Yeah.
So it was, in 1997, their brand was blue and very generic. I found these old logos. We'll post them on our website. Very, non-distinguishable. They obviously, they look like a tech company. But by the early 2000s, they made the decision to switch to bold red and black. And that gave the branding and the company more of a strong cinematic vibe.
I loved when that logo came out. I loved it. It just felt very cinematic. It felt like a movie marquee. It felt like the Hollywood sign. It was dimensional. Do you remember the firm that designed it offhand?
Yes, Imaginary Forces.
They did the static logo?
I saw they worked with them on branding. I know they did the motion work, the latest one with all the branding, static and motion. When I read about them on their website, they had said they had worked with Netflix branding previously.
Do you know what their first name was prior to being Netflix?
Oh, I saw, but I can't remember. What is it?
Kibble.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So with that new bold branding, what stood out was this bold N, perfect for digital space, right? And it became instantly recognizable around the world. But the identity has changed just a tiny bit over the last few years, and it was created by Imaginary Forces. And what you see now in the motion is these beams of colored lights. They're traveling through space, and then they converge to form, think about threads of a ribbon, and that ribbon then forms the N of Netflix. And what I love about that, well, first of all of those individual threads of color, they just represent the vibrant diversity of the Netflix catalog. There's everything in there. And then I love when it turns into, I don't know if this was intentional, but it feels like a film strip, you know?
Yeah, like running quickly through a projector, right? Streaks of color, yeah.
Yeah, which is, when you think about it, how odd is that? Because this is a purely digital platform, no projectors needed, traditional projectors,
right. But people still think movie. I mean, it's a movie, I'm watching a movie.
Yeah. So the visual identity, strong, bold, clean, easy to recognize. But I think what people really know of Netflix is the audio branding, the famous Tudum.
Yep.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. It was created, and I promised you, I threw out a little bit of a teaser early on. So I'm going to settle that here.
Okay.
So first of all, the original Tudum was created by Lon Bender, who is an Oscar-winning sound designer and worked on sound design for films you might have heard of, Braveheart, Drive. So, big sort of Hollywood musician, composer. And the sound of the Tudum, now you're going to have to go and listen to this. It was compiled from a few different elements, including the sound of his wedding ring hitting a cabinet and a slowed down anvil sound and a reverse guitar phrase. So that's what made me ask you earlier, has it always been the chimes? Because when I hear the Netflix Tudum, I don't hear wedding ring hitting a cabinet or slowed down anvil sound. But, it's just unique, right? All of those things woven together.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is I guess the first two are percussion, sort of.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I would have thought it. I don't know. You could have locked me in a room for a month, and those are not the things I would have guessed.
No. So obviously the purpose of audio branding is to create this recognizable, some people refer to it as a sonic logo, similar to the NBC Chimes or the MGM Lions Roar. And the VP of product at the time, a guy named Todd Yellen, what he said is, I want it to evoke this feeling of I'm about to get a treat here. So,
okay.
It does.
I like that. Yeah. So it's this Pavlovian thing, right? It gets the viewer excited.
It does, and it's heavy, it's cinematic. But would you have had the same feeling with a goat bleeding, Elliot?
Is this in the days of Kibble, or is this in the days of Netflix?
No,
okay.
It was, in the 2000s, one of their considerations for audio branding was a goat bleeding. So not bleeding, but bleating.
Yeah, with a T.
And they were serious. They seriously considered it because it was distinct and memorable. And I just don't think that would have lasted very long.
Well, you know what's funny is at that point in time, goat didn't have the meaning of the acronym today, GOAT.
Yeah,
right? Greatest of all time.
It didn't.
So, you mentioned that Netflix is still the top of the heap when it comes to streaming platforms, even today.
Yeah.
And so it would have been sort of ironic, I think, had it been a GOAT, because it would have been a funny inside joke since they're the industry leader, even though it would have been completely and utterly unintended.
Right. Yeah, that would be. And now imagine a goat playing a guitar with a wedding band, and an anvil, and maybe you got something different. But
it's too bad it wasn't the band Anvil that did their identity.
Well, Todd Yellin, the guy I mentioned who was leading the project, he said he really liked the sound of the goat. It was funny. It was quirky. And he says it was our version of Leo the Lion from MGM.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have been sustainable. But anyway, fortunately, they did settle on the Tudum. And recently, Hans Zimmer, famous composer you probably heard of, he crafted the elongated Tudum that plays before some of their original content like The Irishman and Marriage Story. But let me close up here by addressing some folklore, okay? So I started the story by telling you Reed Hastings' frustration with having to pay $40 for a late copy of Blockbuster.
Right, when the guy was worth $750 million.
Right. Well, turns out evidence shows that Randolph, his partner, said he invented that anecdote. And It didn't just stop there. In the mid-2000s, Blockbuster reportedly ordered Reed Hastings to stop telling the story after it couldn't find any such transaction in their records.
Well, I guess now he can tell that story with reckless abandon if he wants.
Yeah, right. He could do whatever he wants now.
The lone Blockbuster in wherever, Bend, Oregon, or wherever the last one is, I don't think they can get a Kickstarter going to scrape legal fees together to sue Netflix.
Yeah, I think that would be funny if that happened. All right. Well, how can we wrap this up?
You know what, Todd?
Yeah.
Speaking of chimes and identities, Tudum, and really queuing up a nice treat for somebody. All my 6 glasses here happen to be empty, and Tudum, I think it's time for you to take get your steps in and maybe take a little stroll back to our friendly bartender.
You're looking for something that signifies you're about to get a treat?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. We'll catch up again next time.
Oh, could you take all these empties since you're on your way over there?
Bye.